Are you planning on running your first marathon? Are you in need of some tips? Well, you're not alone. Today's guest is in the same boat. Heather has headed to Wales to meet Nuzest ambassador, chef and runner Gaz Oakley as he prepares to run a marathon. In return for his cooking tips, Heather will be sharing her own marathon knowledge.
I am in the middle of beautiful Welsh countryside with just a grid reference to go by, no phone reception. Left my car up the road and I'm now in search of Gaz Oakley, who has promised to take me on a rather nice run. And if this is anything to go by, I think it's going to be picturesque at least. Oh, Gaz, you look like you're warming up and ready to go.
Yes, I've only been here half an
Oh,
hour,
sorry
so
about that. Sorry, well, should we crack on and get on with this run then?
Let's
Where are
go.
you taking me?
Come on, let's go this way.
All right, Gaz, I know you're after a little bit of guidance for some, preparing for your first marathon, and they're going to be tips for everybody here. But first, I think you need to be honest with our viewers.
Yeah.
What time are you targeting for your first marathon?
Well, I'm just judging off what I did the half marathon in with no training.
Yeah.
I did that just over an hour and a half. So if I can get under 3 hours or just 3 hours for a marathon, that would be impressive for myself.
It would be impressive, that's for sure. And I'm loving this ambition. Now, do you know what pace that means you've got to hold?
I don't. You're going to know, I hope.
Yeah. So you've got to hold 4 minutes 15 per kilometre for 42 kilometres in a row.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I think I can put anything I put my mind to. I have a lot of self-belief, but whether it happens, I do. I'm going to try my best.
Gaz, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
But
with your
I mean,
tips.
when it comes to training, you need to beforehand be able to sort of hold maybe a couple of 5Ks at that pace comfortably.
Oh, I can do it comfortably, 5K.
But more, within one run.
Yeah.
Or like a 15 to 20K at that pace, then you're in a good place. But we're fast forwarding. That's when you're coming close to race time. So it's going to depend on the other training you do around it and building that base. But we'll come on to more of that in a moment.
Sure.
Now, Gaz, you could probably tell from my reaction that it's not as simple as just doubling your half marathon time. I mean, you're going to have to be comfortable running a little bit quicker than that anyway, because you're going to have a drop off, like however conditioned you are. And talking of conditioning, you're going to need to do some work to get your legs used to that amount of impact. And your running economy will really benefit from doing work in the gym. So strength and conditioning work, stretching, keeping you injury free. And one of the key things, that the biggest difference between a half and a full, is your fueling, because you could probably get away with a half marathon without fueling very much or drinking. So you've got to really experiment on what you're eating, like what you get used to eating when you're running. It's quite a different experience.
Never eaten when I've been running. Let's get back to the kitchen. I can show you some nice recipes.
That sounds a great idea.
Let's go.
All right, Gaz, thanks for providing the post-run fuel.
worries.
These are delicious.
Good.
And it's probably now time that I kind of shared a bit of, fueling knowledge.
Yes, please.
But first up, how do you currently fuel like your endurance? Do you even fuel your long run? Do you take on any nutrition when you're going?
Prior
at the
to
moment?
running? So I like to run in the mornings when I do, and before it I can't have anything too heavy. I've found I get a stitch really fast, so I would just have banana and make sure I'm really hydrated. Day to day though, I do eat very clean and generally like a whole foods diet. Obviously plant-based, I find that I recover really fast on that diet. I mean, everyone's different, but for me it really works for me. But
have you ever tried actually taking on, because if you're planning for your first marathon, you're going to need to take on fuel when you're running. Have you ever tried that?
Never.
Okay, so that's where, and that's going to be the same for you guys. If you are doing your first marathon, that's the biggest difference, like I said. So you've got options. You've got gels, which are specifically designed to be really easy to digest and easy to actually ingest as well, because it's the swallowing of something whilst you're going along. And I know you're competitive, so you're not going to want to slow down. You've also got the option of using sweets, like jelly babies I quite like sometimes.
Jelly tots are vegan.
Okay, there you go. I didn't know that one. I love jelly tots as well. You've also got, you can take fuel through your water, through hydration, but that's quite hard because you're going to have to carry it, and it ends up unless you're going to rely on the fuel at the race. So if you're doing that, you need to find out beforehand. If you're doing London Marathon, what do they provide at the fuel stations? Yeah. So the only problem with using energy drinks through the stands, you won't quite know how much you're taking on. So, and you'll also need to make sure you practice it beforehand. You can do whole foods if you want, but if you're running at that pace, you might find it quite hard to actually swallow a bar or something. Yeah. But you do need to start practicing it, and it's your long run that's the time to do this. So at the moment, I know we're not quite, we'll talk about the long run later on, but when you are, that's the perfect time to just practice, because it's not just your taste buds that will change when you're running, but also your actual digestion. You'll find that your stomach might cope with some things and not others. So it's going to be a bit of a little experiment. We've got a few months for you to start testing things out, and also hydration, because if you are dehydrated, your performance drops off rapidly. And if it's a hot day, you've got to be prepared for different conditions. It's England. You're running in October. It might be really cold and you might not need to take on much water, but it could be really hot and you're losing loads of salt as well.
Because we get really hot weather all the time in Wales, so I need to be I have to be wearing my thermals.
You're going to be acclimatised or not at all. And also then you've got to think about your pre-race fueling. So you're saying you don't like anything heavy, but ideally you want to get on a decent meal that morning and have a high carbohydrate meal the night before as well. That's not got too much fibre in, because you don't want your stomach to be interrupting things the next day. So there's quite a lot you actually need to think about, and the best piece of advice is you just got to practice it and experiment.
I can't just be having my banana before I run a marathon for
Which is fine for your easy runs and training
definitely.
and things, but you need to work out the difference is, an hour and a half is about the level you can go without fueling, but when it gets to 3 hours.
I found after I did the half marathon I think I just had a banana. That was it before I did it. And I was so hungry after it. I looked at my Strava and I'd burnt about 1,500 calories and I just couldn't wait to eat. So having to do that twice.
And it's once you get beyond that, you can't sort of recover it. So, but it's not going to be a crazy amount in 3 hours. It depends on your body, but a few gels maximum. But it's working out what's going to be right for you. So practice is definitely key there. Gaz, we've obviously been a bit lazy today. We have come straight back and dived into these muffins without doing any warm down or any kind of stretching or anything. But I know you've got a few questions regarding sort of stretching and looking after your body.
Yeah, I just don't want to get to a point during the marathon where like my muscles are seizing up for whatever reason. If there's anything I can do, prior to running it and in my training to help my muscles cope.
No, that makes complete sense. And actually a lot of that will come beforehand, and it's actually looking after your muscles now so that you can do the training so that you can get to be ready for it. And obviously, like I've touched on there, we need to be doing some kind of stretching afterwards, working out like what parts of your body are tight, like whether you're someone who does yoga or whether it's a very more regimented sort of routine you need to have. And the same goes for warming up. And I know you're quite keen to just get out the door and start running hard, but when it gets to the longer stuff and you're doing some intensity work, your body's gonna be under that much load that it will need a warm up. So whether that's a dynamic warm up, doing leg swings and just body mobility, getting everything moving before you hit the road, and then even do a gradual like jog before you get into pace. But when you come back again, it's loosening everything, any tight areas off. And I know you said you've got a foam roller and a massage gun. They need to become your friends. You've got to be kind to your legs. These are the ones that are going to get you around in London. So you've got to start just helping your muscles recover so you can do your next session. That makes sense. It's like an investment after each run in the next run almost. And then beyond that, you've also just sleep is so valuable.
Oh, I love my sleep. So
well, that's
not
great.
Going to be a problem.
Okay, cool. Because I mean, when you're signed up, you're running. That's when your body's recovering. As long as you've got the right nutrition, and I know you're on your nutrition. So
I feel like I've got all the ingredients. It's just like the sort of nitty gritty things that I may not have thought about, especially like eating whilst we're running, these stretches that you're going to show me, and pacing is another thing that
we'll come on to pacing in a minute. But first I want to introduce you to what's going to be your new best friend.
Oh, the dreaded
if you've
bands.
used one of these before.
In lockdown a lot.
So prehab is a really key part to...
I like that phrase.
We prefer prehab to rehab because you want to be preventing the injuries, not recovering from them. So should we go and give this a go?
Cool, okay.
All right, so this good old sturdy band is going to get your glutes firing. Cool. And this is just really key exercise just to have as part of your like general routine, whether it's ahead of going for a run or whether it's ahead of doing your gym work. And physios, I mean, coming from physio background anyway, but physios, when you go to them with an injury, there's probably at some point in the chain, your glutes won't be firing properly. Because if you think that you've got a lower leg injury, but it all starts around the hip area. And I know you said that your hips are tight, and as soon as hips start to get tight, you lose range of the length of your stride. So this is going to help with your running economy, which is really important towards the end of a marathon when you start getting tired. It's going to help making sure that you're running with the right form, because the right muscles are firing, and your glutes are such a massive muscle, you want them to be working.
Definitely.
So it's just a really good exercise to get them a bit stronger, but also just to get them woken up. So you simply need to just, so before running is a great way, or maybe even part of your warm-up routine if you're going to be doing a gym session. So if you want to pop this around your ankles or just above your knees, whichever you feel more comfortable doing. And we're just going to do some crab walks. Have you done crab walks before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so you're on it. So you'll know you're going to start to feel that burn on the side of your legs. So if you let me watch your form. I reckon you're going to be quite good at this. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to move out of the way. Yeah, good. Just stand up a little bit more, so just be a little bit more upright. And try and take a slightly wider step. That's it. I'm in your way now, so you're going to go back the other way. All right, Gaz, so you've obviously got that, but you've got variations, and the same for you guys watching. You can do your clams, sort of Jane Fonda style, but anything that's getting the hips basically activated, because they are going to be under a lot of stress when you're doing long distance running. And beyond that though, I know you do a little bit of gym, well, I don't know how much, I know you do some gym work anyway. What do you tend to do in the gym? Because that can really complement your running.
Yeah, well, I do come from a weight training background.
Great.
And I love it. I really do love going to the gym and lifting weights. Something about it I find very therapeutic.
Okay.
So lots of compound lifting, squats, deadlifts, all that stuff I love.
Oh, that's great.
I make sure that I get some explosiveness in there, because I don't want to be slow when you get into a routine of lifting heavy weights. You often are quite slow, so I try and get quite mobile at the same time, whether that's adding some box jumps in after it. It's quite good for me.
Do you do any single leg work? Because that correlates so well to running. If you're doing single leg squats or single leg step ups with a jump, which kind of sounds like similar to what you're doing, but do you do much in the way of single leg?
Lunges a lot of the time.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll vary, like a leg press and just do single leg. But I could definitely do more.
Yeah, because I mean that correlates so well to running, because you're always on one side of your body and you're stressing that. And again, when you get tired, your gym work is so great, especially if you've got a strong base in it, because it just gives you that foundation for building on your running mileage. So that is brilliant. And a lot of people actually overlook upper body work, and I don't know if you do much upper body, because you think, oh, running's all about the legs, but actually everything's connected, and obviously you're using your arms, but your breathing, your core is vital. So we're not going to touch on core exercises today, but I don't know if you do much in the way of core work at the moment.
Well, I try and hit every part of my body. I don't necessarily do it for the aesthetic style. I just want to feel good, and I don't want to, look like Popeye. My dad used to say, go to the gym and just train arms all day.
Exactly.
So
it's functional.
I try, and I feel like, particularly things like deadlifts, you do cover a large amount of muscles at once, but definitely core is very important.
But I mean, you see so many runners doing deadlifts. It is like a key running exercise. So you're on it already.
It's good to know. It's really good to know, because I thought I'd have to quit that and just focus on running miles constantly.
Not at all.
Good.
And I think that just leaves us with one topic to cover, which is more, I guess, the theory of structuring your training, which I think could actually be the bit that you're going to find the hardest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as you've probably known from the day you spent with me, I'm all or nothing. I'm straight in at the deep end, but I need to put some reins on the training. I need to take my time. I need to allow myself to go for a longer, maybe slower run.
You really do.
And just build up that sort of, maybe that, just the get my body used to the impact over a long period of time. Yeah,
because you just can't add on that. You cannot increase the miles that quickly. You might get away with it to start with. I know you're still quite young, but it will catch up with you. So yeah, you need to look at your week structure.
Still quite young. I'm so young.
Sorry, still young, of course. So we've covered the long run. So ideally you want to do one of those a week and increase that in distance. So up to, your longest run needs to be between 17 and 20 miles really. So you don't need to run a marathon beforehand, but you've got to be consistent. And then you need to be at that distance about 3 weeks before, 3 to 4 weeks, so you can then start backing it off as you get close to your event, because you obviously want to be fresh. And then around that you want to do one sort of threshold run. So that is like for you around a sort of 4:30 pace, if you're targeting a 4:15 marathon. So or maybe even 4:15, like around that. So quite hard, but shorter. So some shorter blocks in that. Maybe some speed work if you've got capacity in the week as well. So some working faster than your race pace, but obviously it's relevant to whatever your race pace is. And then around that, it's purely going to be bulking up the mileage. So some of those can be really, really easy, steady runs at recovery. Some are just kind of a little bit more, you know, getting at a decent pace, but just keeping it light. So it's just trying to sort of get consistency. That's really going to be the key. Yeah. And I know you're worried about, you know, getting injured and things like that, and you can swap some of it out. If you're getting niggles or you're getting tightness, you can swap out those easy runs for an elliptical trainer in the gym, or cycling, or swimming.
I think.
Yeah. Well, we've got triathlon in the making here anyway, haven't we?
I would love to do a triathlon again, because I used to do them as a kid. But I think just swimming appeals to me just because less, you know, pressure on the joints, less impact. So maybe I'll do a few swimming sessions.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, use those to help with your recovery, but it's still aerobic fitness. So kind of there, and then the overall structure. You're going to need to have at least one rest day a week. So just like of no kind of real, you know, not putting much stress on your body. And then within that, sort of you want to cycle. So between 3 and 5 weeks, you want to have an easy week. So you kind of building up, you drop back a little bit, you build up again, because that's when your body actually gets stronger and recovers. So you've got a few months, you've got time to sort of structure this. So yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot today. Have you got any final questions?
Final questions. If I'm trying to go for 3 hours or less,
2:59.
2:59. Okay. Would you know, like when I used to do cross country as a kid, or when I did my 1500, I was always under the impression of like starting fast, taking some time off and finishing fast. I guess that's not possible for a marathon. So is there any structure, or would you just try and hit the 4:15?
So you kind of really want to have a little bit of leeway. So you might be pleased to hear this, that ideally you want to start off a little bit quicker, just so you've got that. You might need a loose stop. You know, you have to bear that in mind. You might need to walk.
I'm not stopping for the toilet. I'm running, I'm leaving a trail.
you might need to, you know, deviate to get fuel or water. You might hit a bit of a rough patch, but you need to keep an eye on it, because you should be feeling great at the start of your marathon, because you're tapered, you're fit, you're going to be, and for you, it's going to be keeping a cap on it and not going quicker, like for your first K, than 4 minutes, and making sure you don't get carried away too soon, and then find your rhythm. And then, I mean, a negative split is a nice way to run a marathon, so that's when you do the second half a little bit quicker. And ideally, you kind of just want to keep that pace until your last few miles. If you've got more in the tank, then you can start to up it.
Okay. All right, amazing. That helps.
All right, well, I have faith in you, Gaz. I'm excited to see what happens in October, the London Marathon, sub 3. Good luck.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today.
No, thank you for all the knowledge.
Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. Give us a like, and do check us out on social media and subscribe here on YouTube.